When Will first came in, he was actually talking to the Air Force, but he asked me a question about the Army aviation, and once he asked me a question, I told him about it.
And then he showed me the brochure, some of the helicopters, and then like the RH-66, it's a stealth helicopter. I was like, wait, they got this?
At that point in time, you know, I explained to him our warrant officer flight program.
Got all your paperwork?
You can take somebody right off the street as long as the person has a high school diploma, can come in, get a good job guaranteed to them. I think once Will found out about that, he was pretty much locked in.
Like 120. He was completely unlike what I expected of a recruiter when I first spoke with him.
Some of the outside of that city we used to train in. That's a Apache attack helicopter there.
Because he told me that Army recruiters, quote, got the bad reputation of car salesmen.
The toughest part about recruiting is gaining a person's trust. Whatever we say, we back up with black and white regulations, so there's no smokes and mirrors around here.
You fixed up my life real good, man. You're going to make sure, because of you, I'm going to retire real nice. Because I'm thinking of it as a career thing. Every little bit of strife I've gone through in my life, every little inconvenience I've always, or since I signed the papers anyway, I just looked at as something that'll make basic training that much easier.
We are an army of one.
One team, one mission, one goal.
You know, the whole idea of you can be all you can be if you join the Army. Look at how we appeal to them. You're going to learn a skill, you're going to get a trade, you'll be able to go to college, give you all these benefits if you go and serve your country. We appeal to people's self-interest and then put them into a situation which is based on self-sacrifice.
Didn't really have much of a blood family. My mom was the only blood. Me and my mom. Hold on. Hello. Hello? Yeah, Jamie. I mean, I got real good friends, and they've been just as good as a blood family, but they're not that supportive of me going in. They say, you know, try and give me boogeyman stories about what's going to happen in basic. As rough as basic can be, it can't be as bad as they say. I'm not worried.
Right now, you have more of a separation between the military and particularly the middle class and the upper middle class in this country than existed even under the draft era. If you go back to Vietnam, basically the inequity of the draft helped prolong the war. As long as the poor and unrepresented were dying, people went along with it. You know, we got out of Vietnam effectively when the lottery started and middle-class kids were getting killed. First thing that happened was they went to this all-volunteer army. And that solved the draft inequity problem because everybody's a volunteer.
This is supposedly a stealth helicopter which hopefully will go into service by the time I become a pilot.
And that makes the military much easier to use because, you know, you guys are fucking volunteers. Screw you. You signed up for this. You know, the objections don't carry as much water.
In a period of increased tension, the advantage gained by flying men into position quickly might represent the difference between success or failure in a military operation.
I arrived in Vietnam in July of 1965. I was part of the build-up to 50,000 troops. I remember saying to one of my buddies, you know, this keeps up, they're going to have 100,000 troops over here. And he laughed. He said, what are you, nuts? They'd have to declare war for 100,000 troops.
My fellow Americans, renewed hostile actions against United States ships on the high seas and the Gulf of Tonkin have today required me to order the military forces of the United States to take action in reply.
I was assigned to a helicopter company, 13th Aviation Battalion. I was a door gunner on one of the helicopters. It was quite an experience for, you know, a 21-year-old kid. You're involved in taking people's lives. From the perspective of a helicopter, you're up X number hundreds of feet, and you're shooting at little dots that are running around. You're not shooting at somebody face to face.
Okay, there's a blue shirt on a trail down here. Come on, right. Okay, there, got a tanker.
it's almost like they're not real human beings. They're objects. They're objects.
As a refugee of war, I think I understand firsthand the suffering, the pain that war could cause. I came here when I was 15. We left Saigon on the 28th of April, 1975, right before the downfall of Saigon. I was very lucky to make it here intact. I always was very much aware of why I'm here. It's because of our strong thirst for freedom that brought me here, and the sacrifice of other people that brought me here.
A full-scale evacuation had been ordered.
But I do remember the desperation. A lot of South Vietnamese indeed felt that the Americans have left them fend for themselves. That in the end, America deliberately withdrew all the support. But I separate that from the American people.
I grew up knowing that should the situation arise, you were expected to answer the call when your country made the call. There was no such thing as, well, I wonder if my country's right. Is anybody lying to me about this? You don't grow up thinking that. You grow up saying, if the bugle calls, you go. Well, as time went on and we found out, well, this whole Gulf of Tonkin thing was BS and nobody was really attacked. So you say to yourself, you know what? That's really crap, man. Why did somebody lie to us? There was no need to lie.
We have been lied to in every military escapade, frankly, over the last 50 or 60 years, without exception. There's no better example probably than Vietnam, where you had the President of the United States and the top generals in the Pentagon out and out lying about the Gulf of Tonkin incident and got us into the war, about the casualties, about how the war was going. Anyone who has ever looked closely at the Vietnam War can see that the public and the media were manipulated substantially. We don't like to think of ourselves as a militant nation, but we are in fact an incredibly militant and militaristic nation. It's not a view of ourselves that we want to carry around, but the fact is we are. If the president and the military-industrial complex, the defense establishment, if they all have decided that suddenly there's a problem somewhere, we need to drop some bombs or even put land forces somewhere in some country, this is a ritual that we have been seeing for decades. We've toppled governments, we've done coups d'etats, we've used intelligence services for covert purposes and done horrible things around the world, and we have put up with the most heinous human rights abusing countries. We have propped them up, we've even trained them how to commit human rights abuses. Today's demon was yesterday's friend, all in the name of either the Cold War or for commercial reasons. It's basically economic colonialism. No one uses the colonialism word, but instead of just taking over the countries, we have a better way. We just go in and have free markets, whether we're trying to sell our products to their citizens or we're trying to mine their resources. We need to be in that country for some reason, and therefore we're going to talk about free markets, free trade. But what's really going on is we want our companies to get rich in your country.
There she is. That's what all the fuss is about. Oil. It's kind of pretty, isn't it? Oil. Coming up out of the ground to make life a bit more easy for all of us.
The United States is the world's largest consumer of fossil fuels. Oil is what drives the military machine of every country. That is, it provides the fuel for the aircraft, for the ships, for the tanks, for the trucks. Control of oil is indispensable. When you run out of it, your army stops. There is a direct connection between events that happened more than 50 years ago and the war in Iraq today. In 1953, the Prime Minister of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh, became extremely irritated the British were ripping off